the button now decides to put in the 3-bet. He is also currently the table's chip leader. He makes it 75k. Now the player in the small blind thinks about it for a bit and decides to 4-bet shove all in for a total of 209,000. The original raiser folds and the action is back on me. It's the middle of day 2 of the 8,400 euros GG Millions high roller at the WSOPE in Prague. My last table just broke and registration for this event has now officially closed with a total of 359 entries. With more than half the field gone, 149 players remain. I had just lost a big flip at my last table right before sitting down at this one, and after folding for a few orbits and being blinded down to 10 big blinds, I'm in the big blind and look down at ace-6 offsuit. The blinds are 4,000, 8,000. The player under the gun +1 decides to limp in for 8k. This is definitely not something you see very often, especially in a tournament with a buy-in of 8,400 euros. None of the other players decide to attack this limp. They all end up folding, as well as the small blind. I'm very happy to take a free flop here, so I go ahead and check. We go to the flop of 10 of diamonds, 7 of spades, ace of clubs. I flop top pair with a backdoor straight draw. I decide to start with a check to see what my opponent does, and he decides to bet 13k. His limping range could definitely have hands like ace king, ace queen, pocket tens, but heads up, with top pair I'm not folding, so I do make the call. The turn is the ace of diamonds, now giving me trip aces and also making it much less likely now that he has the last ace in his hand. I check again, and now he bets again for 32k. I counted up my stack, and I had about a total of 70k behind. If he does happen to have me beat here, with my stack size, it seems unlikely for me to get away on any river, and also with the possibility of him drawing to a straight or a flush, my decision here is quite easy.
You're all in? Call.
Scared me. Scary.
It's all pain.
So we see that he did limp in to try to trap with pocket kings. He ended up trapping himself, and I get a full double up here, and my stack is up to 150k. Seeing his hand now, I'm surprised that he decided to bet the turn, and for that large of a size. His hand doesn't need protection. By checking back, he'd be able to call a river bet or make a belly bet himself if I checked again. Next hand, I'm in the big blind and look down at pocket jacks. It folds around to the hijack. He decides to just open shove 117k, 14.6 big blinds. Small blind folds, and of course I make the snap call. I'm very happy to see him turn over pocket eights, drawing to 2 outs. The flop comes king 6-10 rainbow, a very safe flop. The turn is the ace of hearts, and just when I thought it was safe, boom, the 8 of spades drops and stabs me in the heart. So this pot knocks me right back down to only 7 big blinds. Time to get back to work. Unfortunately, in my next big blind, I look down at the worst hand in poker, 7 deuce offsuit. It folds around to the small blind. Not surprisingly, he decides to put me all in. I only have 5.6 big blinds, but even with the pot odds I'm getting, I can't even make this call here. There has to be a better spot in this next orbit to put the chips in. The very next hand, it's my small blind, and looking down at queen 5 off, I'm definitely all in after everybody folds to me. And now he must have an absolute garbage hand to not be able to make this call, and makes the fold. Next hand, I get ace-9 of spades in the hijack. Everybody folds to me, another easy all in. Everybody folds again, and another much needed pickup. Next one, it's my big blind again, and this time I have 7-5 of clubs. It folds to the player in the cutoff, who raises it to 16k. Everybody else folds, including the small blind. I think just calling to see the flop is the best play. I'm too short stacked to have any fold equity. I do make the call. We see the flop of deuce of clubs, 5 of hearts, 9 of clubs. I decided to just donk lead all in. This is a huge flop for my hand as I flopped a pair of 5s with a flush draw. If my opponent missed this board, he may decide to check back quite frequently. I don't want to give him any chance of hitting the turn, and he does make the fold. So these little pots are adding up and things are slowly moving back in the right direction. This next hand, I'm on the button and look down at the beautiful pocket queens. The player under the gun raises it up to 16,000. It folds around to me. I have 97,000 behind. There's only one move here. Both the small and big blind fold, and the under the gun raiser doesn't take too long before making the call. Feels nice to have my queens hold up in this crucial spot as they're currently announcing the prize pool over the speaker. Since we're slowly getting closer to the bubble, there's currently 91 players left. 54 will get paid. 600,000 euros for first. Blinds are up, 5,000, 10,000. I'm in the low jack and look down at ace queen offsuit. There's a raise from under the gun +1 to 20,000. I could choose to 3-bet here, but I decided to just call this time as the raiser had me covered and I didn't want to reopen the betting, but it didn't matter because the button now decides to put in the 3-bet. He is also currently the table's chip leader. He makes it 75k. Now the player in the small blind thinks about it for a bit and decides to 4-bet shove all in for a total of 209,000. The original raiser folds and the action is back on me. I think if I was just facing the 3-bet from the button, I could consider shoving all in, as my hand is quite under-repped by just calling preflop. However, now facing this much action with the 4-bet from the small blind, I think I just have to fold my ace-queen here. So I do throw my hand away, the button decides to make the call, the small blind has pocket tens, and the big blind has the same hand as me. Pocket tens does hold up. I wonder how this hand would have played out differently if I did decide to 3-bet preflop. Perhaps pocket tens is the one that ends up folding. This next hand is a 5-way limp pot, so I'm in the small blind with 8-3 of hearts. I make the call for 5k more after the under the gun player, the hijack, and the cutoff all decide to just limp for 10k. Big blind checks and we go 5 ways to the flop of 8 of clubs, 10 of diamonds, 8 of diamonds. I think the players were scared to raise the first limper, as this player was the one that had kings against my ace-6 last time he limped. So as a result, I was able to sneak into this hand and flop trip 8s. I decided to just lead out for 20k. This board is very dynamic, there's lots of draws available. In multi-way pots, players play much more straightforwardly and much less likely to bet marginal hands or attempt to steal. So I think fast playing here works better than checking. The big blind folds, under the gun folds, hijack folds, but the cutoff decides to make the call. The turn is the deuce of hearts. It's a complete brick, and now with just 14.4 big blinds behind, I think the best play again is to just fast play. If my opponent is calling with top pair, or has a pocket pair, or is drawing, those hands are likely to play cautiously and check back. If he does have a pair and is bluff catching, there's a good chance he may hero call, putting me on a draw, as I may play a draw this same way. All in. So I do shove all in for the rest of my stack, which is 144k. Another reason for why I think betting here works better is because there's a lot of tricky rivers that could kill my action and make it harder to get paid off. If he has a pair of tens, he might call it off on the turn, but if cards like a diamond, a jack, or a queen come on the river, it might make it much tougher for him to make the call with his pair. The cutoff thinks about it for quite a while and eventually does make the fold. Next hand, before I can even look at my cards, under the gun shoves all in for 41,000. I look down at 10-6 of clubs in the big blind. Everybody folds to me. With the dead money in the pot, I do have to make the call here, even with a hand as bad as 10 high, as it's only 4 big blinds total. Even though losing this one is a relatively small pot, every chip and every pot matter more and more now, with now only 72 players left. We're getting much closer to the bubble. Blinds are up 6k, 12k, and after losing that last hand, I go completely card dead for numerous orbits without playing a single hand and just getting blinded down. There's also not much you can do except to fold when you're also not getting any steal opportunities in late position. But finally, I'm in the low jack and pick up ace jack offsuit. At this point, I have only 116,000 left, which is just under 10 big blinds. Everybody folds to me. I decide to go all in. Now the hijack to my left with 55k also decides to go all in. Everybody else folds and he turns over pocket queens. Luckily I did have him covered, but after doubling him up, I'm left with only 61k left, which is around 5 big blinds. Now I don't have any fold equity anymore with this stack and really can't afford to wait. But I'm also not just going to put the rest of my chips in with any garbage hand. My plan is to hopefully get dealt at least one high card, like an ace, king, or queen, before going all in. Unfortunately, I continued to get dealt complete rags, and now it's my big blind again. So after posting the blinds and ante in this hand, I have only 7k behind, which is less than one big blind. So obviously I'm going to be forced to be all in this hand, regardless of my holding, because of the pot odds. So the low jack limps in for 12k, the high jack raises to 36k. Everybody else folds, including the small blind. Since it does not matter what I have here, I decide to play this hand blind and flick in my last 7k. The low jack makes the call, and now we have a three-way pot, with the main pot being 75k that I can win, and a side pot of 34k between them.
Less. He's being a little less. Looks a little grim.
You think I'm gonna win? I didn't look at my hand. I don't know.
Oh, you want me to look?
No, I said you think I'm gonna win? You have good energy? You think I'm gonna win? You have good feeling?
Yeah, I give you a sense of feeling.
I have no idea what I have.
Maybe at the
I
end
could have the nuts.
Maybe at the end you only need one diamond.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Nuts. Show them.
What do I need to beat? Oh, that's not good. I almost know.
Oh, that's...
Drawing dead. Yeah. Nice hand.
I'm in! That was a good sweat.
That was definitely a nice sweat in that last hand, as I actually had a good chance to triple up if the river was a diamond. I ended up busting in 59th place. Too bad that it was just right before getting into the money, with 54 getting paid. But that's just how it goes sometimes. It's been a challenging yet very fun last couple of days in this high roller tournament, and this concludes my trip at WSOPE Europe. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. As always, comments and critiques are always welcome. Best of luck at the tables, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.